Hello and welcome. On this video today, we're going to talk about my 2008 BMW K1200GT. I want to tell you all about this bike. I do have it for sale, so I want to be upfront about that, but I want to get in a good review before I get rid of it. Let's get with it. I owned this bike about a year and a half. I bought it in 2022 in about May. And I've done some things to it, like with all my bikes. One of the first things I did was put a new windscreen on it. And I'll tell you guys this. If you have an old dingy bike, and it has a windscreen on it, and the windscreen just looks yellowish, tired, scratchy, change the windscreen. You'll thank me, honest to God. I've done this to various bikes and the result is always the same. So that makes the bike look and feel so much fresher, newer. I don't know what word to use, but it's just a big difference once you slap that screen on there. So that was one of the things I did, and furthermore, I bought a bigger screen because this screen goes up and down, and I wanted to be able to go on long trips and not have the wind bother me as much. And I think you can see it there. And that is just such a great feature to have. The other thing it has is hand warmers. And you can see it here. Hand warmers work great. What else does it have? It has cruise control. It has ABS. This is all from factory. It has suspension settings, which I'll show you. Now, look here. That's sport, comfort, and normal. Comfort is a bit too soft, in my opinion. The other thing it has is seat warmers. The seat warmers do not work on this bike. I never looked into it. I don't have a need. I'm not a winter riding kind of guy. And as you guys know, I have other bikes. So if I'm going to ride in the cold, it's probably not going to be this one. It's probably going to be my Electric Glide, which is not here right now. It's at the shop, getting some things checked out. Well, it has the European flash. Okay, I installed a set of amber lights, which you can see there. I'll show you a head-on shot of that. I installed a USB, and what I like about this USB is you shut it off when not in use. And when it is in use, you can see there the reflection. It's a voltmeter. So, works really great. I installed 2 different RAM balls. Obviously I'm a YouTuber, and also my phone goes there. So what else can I tell you? This is a 2008, and I think you can see that the condition of the controls are very good. It has this pocket drawer here. It's pretty deep. What do I have in there? Microfiber, and it locks, so you can put your belongings in there. The seat is adjustable. is height adjustable. I don't know of any other motorcycle other than BMW that has adjustable seats. Tell me in the comments, because I really don't know. The bags, which I have removed, and I don't have them here because I don't want them to get scratched. I had them painted. And I tell you, they come on and off lickety split in a second. And I'm going to show you how it works with the top case. You know, this top case, everybody has a different name for it. Honda Gold Wings call this the trunk. BMW and a lot of Europeans call it a top case. And Harley and American riders call it a tour pack. So what you do is you turn this and watch this handle, and that is it. And when I lift that, it's going to come off, and I just walk away with that. And to bring it back, I just put it in place, push forward on it, lock it, take the key out. That's going nowhere. And these are just as simple. You turn the key on it, you put the key, and when that handle pops out, you just lift them up and walk away. And then you come back and you put them in both these slots, push down on the handle, and it's locked. And you're ready to go. So, if you're looking at another one of these, this is where your passenger controls their seat warmer. Like I said, these don't work. So I want to show you now the headlight. I'm going to have to start it. Along with the amber lights. Pretty bright. This is a xenon light. That is not an LED, it's a factory xenon. This bike sounds like a jet, and everybody that hears it says the same thing. It has a certain whistle to it. And when you're humming along at 90 miles per hour, all you hear is this whistle coming at you, I've been told. So that is the bike. It has, like I said, ABS, shaft drive, single-sided swing arm, which makes it real easy for changing the back tire. Those are Brembo brakes, even though they say BMW. New tires on this bike. What else can I tell you about it? The one thing that doesn't work, and that's why that light stays on up here, is the fuel gauge. And it's my understanding that a lot of these bikes have that fuel gauge. It's an electronic strip, and it is not a float like some of the older bikes, and even some, I think my Harley, well, my 05 Harley has a float still inside the tank. So what I do is I set my tripometer, but the fuel gauge does not work. The mirrors are in a great position. I mean, they're factory position, so you're not going to have any issues there. That exhaust, I don't know what to say about it. It's not loud, but it can be heard. I think with the whistle is what really turns everybody on. I rode with some Indian motorcycles this past spring. If you check out my videos, we went to the Outer Banks of Nag's Head. I'll put a link up here. It was a beautiful ride with some Indian motorcycles, and as a videographer that I am, I was going around the guys and trying to video each and every one of them. And the one guy told me, he says, I could hear you coming. He says, I could hear that whistle. It sounds like a jet. Woo! Anyhow, I like that about this bike. 6-speed, quick shifter, linked braking system. What else? The trunk, the top case tour pack, plenty of room for 2 helmets. Not plenty, but it has room for 2 helmets. And I keep all my junk in there. And mostly when I go on a long ride, I put my camera equipment in there, because I have a lot of camera equipment. I have batteries, and I have a drone, and I have a bunch of stuff. And let's show you some of that stuff, because recently here, I took this bike to the Blue Ridge Mountains here in Virginia. And I'll be honest, my cruising speed was about 90 miles per hour in certain areas. And this bike just cruising along with the taller windscreen. I was amazed sometimes when I would look down and notice I was going 90. Something I failed to say earlier is that, you know, with these little drizzles, I do not get wet on this bike, which is pretty good. My legs are tucked in, I'll show you. This protects on both sides. My hands, not really getting a lot of wind there. But it is beautiful over here with the sun setting and the mountains. The bike has been running all day. She's performing very nicely. What else can I tell you? She redlines at what? 10,000 RPM. It's an inline 4 K engine from BMW, the famous K. Great bike. I love it. Why am I selling it? I have another bike coming in tomorrow, and you're gonna have to stay tuned. And if you're not subscribed, you're gonna have to subscribe so that you can see what I'm getting. But I have to get rid of this bike. I have no more room in here. So that is the third BMW. There's a 1955 R50. It's a 2003 1150 GS, and I finally got the parts in. They came from Germany. It's the bleeder for the clutch. It took about 2 months to get that part. That over there, that silver bike, is my 92 ZX11. This here is my grandson's bike and my son-in-law. They're riding those until they graduate to motorcycles. For now, this is what they're riding. So, cool little bikes. Not so expensive. If you want to teach your kids how to handle a bike, that's it. The one downside I will say, and I know I'm off topic here, the one downside I will say is that the brake is on the left. And I don't want them to create that habit of having that brake on the left. So I've been thinking of how I can move it, but there's just not a lot of room on that right hand side. It doesn't have stereo, but if you're like me, I have music in my headset, in my helmet, and I also listen to the GPS in my helmet. So I don't need a radio. And even on my Harley Davidson that has a big stereo, I normally listen to it inside my helmet on long trips, because anything above 70, you're really not hearing it very clear. So I don't see that as a downside to this bike. If you want music, buy a Cardo or a Senna headset and put it inside your helmet. And if your buddies have that same brand, well, you can chat with them as you go along. You see the moon? It's humongo. What is my overall impression of this bike? I will tell you that I enjoy it. I feel that it's more of a sport bike, okay, because I ride the big Harley-Davidson Electra Glide, which weighs twice as much almost than that, right? A full dress Electra Glide Harley-Davidson is close to 1,000 pounds. This is, I want to say, in the 600-pound range, okay? A bit different. The seating position on this, when I went not too long ago to the Blue Ridge Mountains, I did not appreciate my leg being slightly bent. And I wouldn't call it in the sport bike position, but it's close enough to that position where my leg is slightly bent, okay? Where on the Harley-Davidson, your feet are up here, or an Indian. There's a lot of bikes these days, touring motorcycles, and your feet are gonna be more towards the front where you can stretch your leg out. And on this, you're kind of cramped a little bit. I did purchase this plate here is a 2-inch riser, and what it does is it brings the handlebars up and back just a little bit so that you're not crouched over in the sport bike position. So that is comfortable. The seat, I will say, didn't bother me, and I have tailbone issues, so there are some bikes that murder my tailbone. This is not one of them. Maybe because I'm sitting more leaning forward just a tad. Not a whole lot, but what else can I tell you? Like I said, the saddle bags and the tour pack, the top case, plenty of room. A Harley-Davidson has large bags. These bags are just a bit smaller, but it is more than enough to go on a week-long trip, be it you by yourself or with a partner. Now, you know, going on a motorcycle trip is not going on like on a car trip. You need to learn how to pack lightly, okay? You take just enough underwear, socks, and t-shirts, and then pants and one jacket or sweatshirt and things like that, one of each. You can't take everything like you would in a car. And for those of you that know about touring, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, but this bike will allow you to do that if you use your head and you pack accordingly. Now, I will say, on a week-long trip, you're not going to leave this empty to put your helmets in there. That's not going to happen. The only time you're going to do that is around town, where you can use that to put your helmet away. But if you're going on a week-long trip, you're going to have to fill this up. And what I would do is, you know how women pack, so this would have to be hers, or at least 1 2/3 of that, and one whole bag. And I bought the insert bags for that, the liner bags, so I could just put them right in. And they fit the exact shape of the saddle bag. And then one bag for yourself and 1/3 of the top case. Now, if need be, and this is the good thing, and I don't have that bike here to make a demonstration, but Harleys, they come with a rack on top where you could put another small bag. And I'm not sure how you would do that here, but I'm sure it's possible to put another I would get a waterproof bag and kind of strap it to that top if need be. What else can I tell you about the bike? It feels like a sport bike when you're riding it. It doesn't feel like a touring bike. It's not big and heavy. This bike has a lot of power, 160 horsepower, top speed 150 miles per hour. I didn't get anywhere near that, but that's what the book says about this bike. Oil change on this thing, let me just show you that, because I also want to show you how the seat is adjustable. So the first thing is, I'll show you to pop that seat off, you gotta pop that one off first, and you're gonna put it right there. And that comes off. And then this one comes off. And then this here mechanism, you pull it out and move it. I have it on a higher position because I want my legs to have a little more stretch room. But if you can't reach the floor properly, then you lower this. This here piece here is how you drain your oil. It doesn't have a drain plug like cars and other motorcycles. Some motorcycles have this. Some Harley Davidsons have this, where you have, this is a bladder, if you will. So this is what's called a dry sump engine. Okay? I don't know if you know about that, but if you don't, maybe do a Google search and it'll tell you about that. So all of the oil is kept here instead of in an oil pan like most vehicles. Most vehicles have an oil pan, and that's where the oil sits. On this bike and a few other bikes, this bike here is the same thing. Harley Davidsons are dry sump. Okay? And I'll show you. That's the oil tank, and that's where the oil is. It's not in the engine. So you take that hose out and you run it down the side here, and when it gets to the bottom, it starts to come out. Now you need to heat the motorcycle up. You can't do that when it's cold, because it's not going to come out. It's not going to come out. You have to ride the motorcycle, take it on a 5-minute trip, come back and do that. Drain it, because if not, the oil is not going to come out. It needs to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Water-like, the consistency, the dilution, you understand what I'm saying. It can't be cold and thick. Anyhow, so that's the under the seat. There are some tools. Where are the tools? There's a few tools. There's a screwdriver. There's a Torx. This is how I got it. So whatever's there, whatever was there is there. I think there's a few more things. Might be under the seat or something, but I have a feeling. So, do I recommend this bike? I guess is the big question for those of you that are considering buying a bike like this. I recommend this bike. It depends how many miles you're putting on it, how many miles it has on it, what is your knowledge of motorcycles. There are easier bikes to have than this one. This is a very good sport touring motorcycle. I will say this bike is probably very likely popular in Europe. This is the type of bikes they tour on, in my opinion, from what I've seen. We Americans tend to have the big bikes, the bigger ones. We like the Gold Wings, right? We like the Harley Davidsons, the Indians, even the big Kawasaki's these days, and the Yamahas. They're coming really big, cruiser style kind of. But this is more sport, okay? So I bought this bike because I wanted to take it to the Blue Ridge Mountains. That was my sole reason for buying this bike. And I achieved that. And I don't have the room, so I have to get rid of this bike. I have a new one coming in, and maybe later on down the road I'll be getting another sport touring motorcycle from BMW. Will it be the K1200GT, or will it be the 1600 GT? I really like that bike, but you know what will make my decision? Okay, it all depends what I find, right? I'm after a good deal always. I don't need a motorcycle. I buy a motorcycle if the deal is right, and that's a benefit. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something about the BMW K1200GT. It's a nice bike. I like it. And like I said, if you know of any other motorcycle that has an adjustable seat, please write it in the comments. Anyhow, tell me what's your favorite feature about this bike. With that, I'm going to let you go. You all take care. Watch out with the crazy people on the roads, and I will catch you on the next one. Adios.